On the top, you can see everything that's happening in the ovary. In the middle, you can see everything that happens in the uterus. On the bottom, you can see the changes in different important hormones over time. So day 1 is here, day 28 is here. Okay, and that whole, from day 1 to day 28, is the entire female reproductive cycle. Okay, so the first phase is menstrual phase. That's about days 1 through 5. Okay, if you look down here, you can see that estrogen and progesterone levels are low. Okay, and without estrogen and progesterone, the endometrium, the functional layer of the endometrium, sloughs off here. Okay, see it gets much thinner. With low estrogen and progesterone, FSH levels here start to rise. So FSH, again, this is still during the menstrual phase, high FSH causes a few primordial follicles in the ovaries to start to develop into primary follicles. Okay, and by about day 5, right around here, day 5, where we enter the pre-ovulatory phase, okay, one of these follicles has become dominant. So you can see this big secondary follicle, it starts to make estrogen. Okay, so it beats the other ones, it gets big enough, fast enough, that it gets there before the other ones and it starts to make estrogen. Okay, estrogen now inhibits the release of more FSH, so the other follicles stop growing. And this dominant follicle is the only one that continues on growing through the pre-ovulatory phase, which is about days 5 through 13. Okay, and it makes estrogen. And estrogen, in the presence of estrogen, you can see during the pre-ovulatory phase, the functional layer, okay, of the endometrium starts to build back up. And it grows and it grows and grows, and the secondary follicle grows into what we call a mature or a Graafian follicle, which is very large. Okay, there's still a primary oocyte inside. Right before ovulation, okay, so about day 12, day 13, this gradual buildup of estrogen causes this huge spike in LH that you see here. And that spike in LH does two things. It causes the primary oocyte in here to finish meiosis 1 and become a secondary oocyte. And it also then causes ovulation, or the rupturing of this follicle. So you can see the secondary oocyte surrounded by the corona radiata ruptures, it moves out of the ovary and into the uterine tube, okay, where it may or may not be fertilized. And it leaves behind the rest of the follicle here, which becomes the corpus luteum. Okay, so those events are about day 14. That's called ovulation. Okay. Then we enter our last phase, which is the post-ovulatory phase. That's about days 15 through 28 until we start another menstrual phase. Okay. The corpus luteum develops from this leftover follicle that's left behind in the ovary, and it makes progesterone and estrogen. So you can see those levels go way up during the post-ovulatory phase. And that maintains the functional layer of the endometrium, so that if fertilization occurs, there's a place for the developing embryo to implant in the uterus. Okay, nice thick wall for it. Okay, and if fertilization occurs, the embryo will start to make HCG. Okay, another hormone that comes and it tells the corpus luteum to stick around. So we won't actually enter another menstrual phase if fertilization and then pregnancy occur. The developing embryo makes HCG that rescues and maintains this corpus luteum right here. And it'll keep making progesterone and estrogen for about the first 3 months of pregnancy, okay, until the placenta takes over. Now, if fertilization does not occur, okay, there's no developing embryo then, so there's no HCG present, and this corpus luteum here will degenerate after about 10 to 12 days. Okay, so at the end of the post-ovulatory phase, it starts to degenerate and form the corpus albicans. Okay, and the corpus albicans does not make progesterone and estrogen. So you can see here the levels start to drop, and as they drop down, we start to enter a new menstrual phase. Okay, so again, the lining is going to slough off, FSH is going to start to rise, and more follicles are going to start to develop. And that would be a whole female reproductive cycle. Good. It's a lot. How long did that take?